Greetings, everyone. This is Jeff Wilkerson, Professor of Physics at Luther College, bringing you the next of our series of what to look for in the night sky. It's November 27th, 2023. We're talking about this time around. So the themes we've had, the things we've been doing the last several weeks. We've talked about Venus in the morning sky. So you're out at 4 o'clock in the morning, there's Venus big and bright. It's rising a little bit later each night as it tracks east against the background stars. It's in Virgo right now. So you know it's a little bit later, but 4 or 5 o'clock in the morning, all the way up until 6 o'clock as it starts to get light. Venus is great to see. And so probably, it's so bright right now, what we're talking about this week, you can probably watch Venus until 6:30 in the morning or past. So Venus is tracking. Spica is the bright star in Virgo that's at the base of the Y asterism. So if you think of the main asterism, the main star pattern in Virgo is a Y. Right at the base of that, or as a wine glass, the base of the wine glass is Spica. And right now, Venus is tracking past that. It'll get as close, early in the week, it'll be as close as about 4 degrees, but it'll start west of Spica and move east of Spica as the morning wears on, as the week wears on, excuse me. And so it's great to see. Spica's a nice bright star. We find Spica sometimes by following the curve of the handle of the Big Dipper. We like to say it arcs to Arcturus. And Arcturus is a kind of orangish looking star, and it's not really, but it kind of has that appearance to people a lot of times. And then we spin on down to Spica, and Spica's on down, and so on down below there. So 5 o'clock in the morning, you'll see these two bright objects together. Venus is, of course, much brighter than Spica, but Spica's a nice bright star. So we've got that in the morning sky going on. In the evening sky, last week we watched the moon. We talked about the moon filling out and passing by a bunch of interesting objects. And this week, the moon has gone past full. It will start waning away, but it's still going to be pretty bright and obnoxious in the sky to look for things. And so, you know, we'll try, but we want to see, we've got a lot of moon washing things out, and the moon doesn't have as many interesting pairings this week. If we start on the 27th, the p.m., just after dark on the 27th, still basically a full moon. The moon is about 5 degrees to 10 degrees from El Nath in Taurus the Bull. And so El Nath is a pretty good bright star, so even with the full moon there, you ought to be able to pick El Nath out. It's far enough away from that full moon. Use your binoculars if you need to. But this is out. If we think of, I think of Taurus as being a V of stars that starts with the Hyades cluster and then fans out. And this is the end of the string of one of those V's. And so is El Nath right there. The next night, the moon will have moved across and split, still almost full, 97% full or something like that. But it will split two bright open star clusters, M35 and M38. M35 is in Gemini, M38 is in Auriga. And the moon just passes, shoots right smack through the middle of them. It's bright enough, it's going to be hard to see those open clusters, but I'd say give it a try to see if you can find them with binoculars, or better yet with your telescope. About 4 or 5 degrees in a line crossing, about 4 or 5 degrees below, and sort of south and east of the moon, and north and west of the moon are these two open star clusters. We talked about this last week. The moon does so much damage washing stuff out, so much scattered light, that it's hard to see things around there. I think you'll have a hard time finding these open star clusters, but keep them in mind. Note where the moon is relative to other stars around, the stars in Gemini and the stars in Auriga there, and see if you can come back to this region of the sky later in the week as the moon wanes away. By 2 nights later on the 30th, the moon's down to about 85% full. That's still a lot of moon for observing stuff, but the moon will be right next to Pollux in Gemini. So you got Castor and Pollux, the twin stars. The moon's there, 85% full, just about a couple of degrees from Pollux. That'll be a fun pair. That's probably the best pairing of the week, is to see this 85% full moon sitting next to the Castor and Pollux, the twin stars, making a line right there. So that's a nice thing to go out, grab a picture of it with your cell phone or whatever, is a good thing. Now on the evening of the 3rd into the morning of the 4th, the moon will have waned away till about 60% full, so it's no longer going to be up just after dark. You're going to have to wait a little bit. As the moon starts to wane away like this, it rises later and later, and so you're going to have to wait a few hours after dark to see the moon come up, and it will be near Regulus in Leo. And so now we've been watching Leo. Remember, this is Leo, what time does this moon rise? Maybe midnight or something like that. Maybe even as early as 11 o'clock. I didn't check. You sort of think, well, 50% full moon roughly rises at midnight. But we play games with our clocks, right? And your different places. Anyway, it's not exactly midnight, but sometime there, which is relatively early at night compared to, early in the morning. I've been watching Leo. We started watching Venus slide through Leo and get down into Virgo here. And now we're getting to the point where at midnight or 1 in the morning, we can see the moon near Regulus in Leo. And it's only about 4 degrees or so, 4 or 5 degrees on this evening of the night of the 3rd into the morning of the 4th. So early morning in the 4th is the best time to see that, just after midnight, a little ways. To see that. Regulus is, of course, a very bright star, so this is going to be a nice pairing as well. And so Regulus sits at the base of the backward question mark, the sickle shape that marks the lion's head in Leo. It looks like that, and that's Regulus down here. Eta is the star that's just above there, is a 4th magnitude star, so it's among the fainter stars in this sickle shape. It's easily visible, even with the bright moon shining near there. You should be able to see Eta. It doesn't pop out. It's not a bright star at 4th magnitude. It's about 1,300 light years away from us, and that's a pretty distant star for us to be able to see with the naked eye. And that means it's a giant star that's really luminous. It's somewhere between 15 and 20,000 times brighter than the sun. So enjoy thinking about Eta there as you work up through the sickle shape in Leo, and recognize that Eta Leonis is a distant star, but shines so brightly that we're able to see it pretty clearly here in Leo. Then we move to Algebra. We've talked about Algebra before, and we'll talk about it again in the sickle shape right here. One of the better double stars, one of the better binary stars in the sky, actual binary where the stars are orbiting each other. 2nd magnitude, bright star, and a beautiful, if you got your small telescope, that's your small telescope target for the week. Double stars, binary stars like this, hold up to the full moon. And so even with the 60% full moon right here, you'll be able to see this beautiful double star, this beautiful binary star in the sickle of Leo. And then we move on up to Zeta, or Adhafera, which I have seen translated. I've seen translated from the Arabic as lock of hair. Thinking about this as the mane of Leo here, I've seen. I don't remember where I've known that for some time as a translation there. It's about 3.5 magnitude, so it's brighter than Eta, but not nearly as bright as Algebra. And then you're on around to Mu, or Rasalis. I don't know the translation. I don't remember learning any translations for that. Is another 4th magnitude star back here as we work our way on around the sickle of Leo. So this week, we can watch Venus tracking next to Spica. Going to make a beautiful pairing with Spica in the morning sky. In the evening sky, we see the moon pass through some region. By the time it gets over here, by the time we're talking about this evening where it's in the 60% full range in Leo, we can go back to Gemini and Auriga, and we can find M35 and M38. So you learned where they were from where the moon was earlier, and you go back and see if you can find them in your binoculars and your telescope, your small telescope here right now. Now that we're later in the week, the evening of the 3rd, to see if we can go identify those open star clusters. They're beautiful open star clusters. They're worth the look to go see. But we look at that. We see the moon make a good pairing with Pollux and then Castors right there to make a nice line of bright objects. And now we see the moon near Regulus, and we use that opportunity to think about the stars in the sickle and pay a little more attention to them than we do sometimes. So that's what we got for you this week. We hope you have a great week. As always, everybody, thanks for watching.